What's up everyone, welcome back to Miami Miles. My name is Mickey. In today's video, I am stepping into the time machine. We're going back to 2019 to my collection of my McLaren 600 LT. Now that car meant the world to me because it was my first supercar. I could barely afford it when I bought it. Inevitably, I was able to pull the trigger, and a couple months later, I actually spun the car into a wall and almost totaled it. The sum of that crash was over $180,000. Now guys, the craziest part about this car is that it was a segue into my life, into the YouTube sphere. I actually started my first video, if you go all the way to the bottom, my very first video is a review of that car. So today, I'm gonna tell you the whole story, and let's jump into the GT3 and go actually to where I crashed the 600. Dude, this exhaust is insane! You know, I just gotta appreciate this for a minute, hold on. Oh, I love it. Okay, so back in 2019 October, I had the 991.1 911 turbo, and I absolutely love that car. But every single time I went to drive it, I kept really, you know, craving a track-oriented supercar. The first attempt that I tried to purchase was a GT3 RS, and actually the dealership was offering me like 60 grand for my turbo. So I said, no. And a couple weeks later, I actually step into the collection, and when I walk in, there's this beautiful Luminaire green 600 LT sitting in the showroom. And at the time, because McLaren had made so many 600s, these McLaren 600s had a bunch of discounts. So like McLaren was discounting them 40, 50, $60,000. Now, to be frank, at the time I couldn't afford a car like this, but because they had these huge discounts and these lease specials, I envisioned a scenario where I could put down some money and get the car. So initially my objective was to put down 20 to 30 grand and pay $3,500 a month, which was a lot of money at the time for me. So I try to get approved, and I get a phone call back from Guillermo, my boy over at the collection, and he says, hey Mickey, you know, the bank didn't approve you because you don't have sufficient car credit. For those of you that are car fans and try to buy a bunch of cars, you know just how terrible that feels. So next question for me was, what do I have to put down to get into the car? He tells me, Mickey, you got to put down 60, I think it was like 63,000 in order to pay, I think it was 1,800 a month from my memory. So I think about it, and eventually I end up pulling the trigger. But the crazy thing is that 60 grand was the last 60 grand in my bank account, because I had spent probably a couple years leading up to that point investing every single penny I had into Bitcoin. So I was completely broke. I was basically a broke guy with a Luminaire green McLaren. So right after that, I remember going into the collection to actually collect the car. The car was situated in front of the McLaren doors, and it was so delicious in its paintwork with all the carbon fiber around the entire car. I remember walking around the car just drooling over it, thinking that that scenario was so surreal. The fact that finally I had worked so hard to get myself in a position to afford such an incredible automobile. And it was one of these moments that you cherish for the rest of your life, because you're like, this is never gonna happen until it actually does. So that day I take the car out and I just tear it up.
All right, you ready? I'm ready.
I remember I pulled probably, I don't know, I went 150 a good 10 times, even though the car had like 300 miles on it. So I did that for about 4 months. 4 months of me just pounding this car. 80. Oh my God! And on a fateful morning, Super Bowl Sunday 2020, right before COVID lockdowns happened, I actually went to take the car out with my grandma, of all people. And as I was merging onto the freeway, I decided to turn off my traction control and do a little drift. Well, that drift didn't end up so well. So right now I'm headed over to the fateful spot where I crashed my car and hit the wall. So I'll see you guys in a minute. See that gas station right there? The morning I crashed, I actually got gas there, and that's where I turned off my traction control. Now, I remember being with my grandma in the car, and I'm going right here, okay? Going on to Palmetto, south, and I remember thinking to myself, I'm gonna piss off my grandma. I'm gonna piss off my grandma, I'm gonna do some crazy right at this juncture. I remember I put my car into race, and right here, right here, I put my foot all the way down. The back of the car right here starts to slide out, okay? It starts to slide out, and right about here, I lose control. And I hit the wall right there. I hit the wall right there, and then I kind of spin out into this area. I actually had a couple cars that avoided me. And then I come back and I park right around here. There's the name. Door's fine. Mirror's a little bit scratched, but no big deal. Front, here's where the damage is. The wheel is not bent, that's good. All the damage is right here. Control. Hit the median. Oh well, man. First reactions, lesson learned is what it is. So I hit the wall at about 80 to 90 miles an hour, which is insane. Thinking about it at the time, I just wanted to piss off my grandma to be like, "Hey Mickey, why are you going so fast?" You know, so she always does every time she gets into a car with me. But that day I decided to do it without traction control. And as a matter of fact, I used to be careless. I used to drive without traction control all the time, which is something I no longer do. Anyways, I end up hitting the wall. Honestly, a pretty drama-free crash because the car is all carbon fiber and you're situated within those P1 racing buckets. You almost don't even feel anything, which is crazy to say at this point because shit, you're going 90 miles an hour in a car that weighs nothing. But car at that juncture was completely I'm talking about, you could see that the car was either going to have to be totaled or there was going to be a tremendously huge, you know, like how Trump says, a huge insurance bill. Well, turned out I was right. I take the car to the insurance and I actually have the bill open right here. So I'm going to pull over and read you through some of the line items and the total cost to get that thing fixed. All right. So I've opened up my little invoice here from European Collision Center. They emailed it to me back in February of 2020. So I'm going to go through some of the line items. You can tell right here, it's quite long. I think it's 7 pages long. So let's start with the top. The first thing that you see that's absolutely insane is they had to replace the front spoiler. And that front spoiler has 3 parts, the center, the left, and the right. So the center part is $14,561. The left part, $6,795. The right part, $6,795. The front frame rail, $2,370, and the left front frame rail, $2,370. The undershield bracket, $207.30, $207.30. The right headlamp assembly, so the headlight for the 600LT, $2,401.02.
Carbon fiber louvers, that part as well as the carbon fiber mold was $11,323 and $7,280 respectively. So left fender front liner corner box, right fender bracket, left bracket, $46.35. Right fender middle lower bracket, $515. Let's go down some more here. Right door panel, so they had to replace the entire right door panel because it was two-tone, $4,732.
And then we go all the way down where we add the most egregious line item of them all, the rear bumper cover, i.e. the rear diffuser that was all carbon fiber. Get a load of this. You guys are gonna be shocked. $38,829. $38,829. What the dude, there's no way that that part costs almost 40 grand. Anyways, what do you think the grand total of all this was? Well, if we scroll to the bottom, $183,145 less my $2,000 deductible.
Damn!
The entire repair was over 3/4 of the cost of the car. And the insurance company actually didn't opt to total the car, which to me is mind-blowing. I thought for sure they would total the car because the cost was so tremendous. And so, fast forward, it took about 7 months. It was 7 to 8 months for me to get the car back. I actually didn't get it back until November of that year. November! I kept thinking to myself, shit, I'm paying for this super expensive McLaren. I now have this crazy insurance bill, and I don't have the car back. So it took all these months to get it back, and when I finally got it back, I was able to enjoy it for a few months before my son came. And when my son came, I had a 30-year-old guy midlife crisis in that I kept wanting to start one of these YouTube channels, right? I kept wanting to convey to you guys through this camera all of this special that we get to do every single day, right? Oh! Okay. Anyways, I wanted to start this YouTube channel. I wanted to convey all of my emotions, all my cars, all my through this camera to you. So I ended up taking a GoPro, and on this very road right here, I ended up filming my first review of the 600 LT. And I remember not knowing what I was going to talk about, and I shot it kind of like a vlog POV style, and I thought it was so at the time, but that video propelled me into launching this channel. Inevitably, I traded in the 600 because at that juncture I was tired of all the little problems that it had, probably mostly associated with the fact that I had crashed the car. I traded it in for this car that we're sitting in right here, and that's how we got to 2022 and how Miami miles became a thing. So I'm extremely grateful for the 600 LT. I think that accomplishing my first supercar at such a young age was a huge accomplishment, and it helped me really understand what this was all about. But more than anything, it gave me the ability to start this channel and to get to know each and every single one of you all. Anyways, guys, that's the end of the story. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. If you did, go down below, give me a thumbs up, give me a subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next video. But before we go, second gear, 9,000. All right, ladies and gentlemen, see you next time.